everyone, and good morning. So today, well, good morning, afternoon, evening, night, midnight, wherever you're watching from. So today we're going to be talking about something that I think is very important, which is the art of preparation. Now you may be wondering, preparation, like, I know how to prepare. Hold on a second. So have you ever been in a conversation with someone and they're talking about maybe there's a goal or there's an outcome or there's something that they really want, and then almost immediately after they mention it, then they go into but it can't happen because XYZ. So for example, maybe they want this job, but like, oh, I only heard that it's only this prestigious somebody that gets in, or I want to start a company but I don't have funding. I want to write a book but I don't have a laptop. I want to do something, but this is why it can't happen. Or even in Nigeria, like, maybe you're like, oh, if only we had good leaders, or if only we had XYZ, then this idea would work. Now, this is where the art of preparation comes in, because what happens when we use this if only statement a lot is that we begin to base the entire possibility of those outcomes, of those dreams, on the external factors alone. Basically, we move ourselves from the equation so that it doesn't even, to us, it begins to look like it doesn't even matter what it is that you do. Once those external factors are not present, then you can't achieve that goal or that outcome. And this is not saying that external factors are not important, right? Because external factors, things that you can't control, maybe like, oh, where you were born, or the influence that you have, or how much money you have access to currently, though those things can be important, they are not the sole determinant of where you are going, right? But if we use those if only statements too much, then we are programming our minds to think that it is only those external factors that can guarantee success. And what this means is that, first of all, we start to learn helplessness. Basically, that means that every time we see an opportunity, every time we see a goal that we want, we automatically, maybe we're excited in the beginning, but then of course our mind, or our inner whatever it is, reminds us that you can't do it because you don't have the mention or the external factors, right? And then you go back to that learned helplessness. You see an opportunity, you're excited, you auto-correct yourself by thinking you don't have the, you auto-correct, you say, I don't have external factors, it can't work. You go back to learned helplessness, and then that traps us in that cycle, that cycle of victimhood, where you are a victim to the external factors. And where does preparation come in? Preparation is what gives you morale. So if you are trapped in that cycle of victimhood and you continue going through the emotions, every time you see an idea, every time you are discouraged, you disqualify, whether it is the idea or it is yourself from participating in the idea, you lose morale. But one thing that also happens is that it hinders you from preparing. So if you have an analogy of somebody that wants to start a company, for example, maybe you have this brilliant idea and you think you should be a company, you think you should offer this service to people. Maybe the external factor that is at play is that maybe you didn't even study that subject, the subject of what the service you're offering. Maybe you don't have funding, or you don't have connections, or you don't even have an idea like how to start a company. If you let those external factors, those things that maybe you can't control, to decide whether you are going to embark on that journey, you're going to find out that eventually you are not going to do that thing. And it also hinders you from preparing, such that if by some miracle, if like you're just lucky, or maybe if you pitch that idea to someone else and they're like, oh, that's such an awesome idea, what, let me help you fund it, and then they're like, okay, what is your pitch, like what is your plan? That is when you now realize that, wait a second, okay, like I've actually not been preparing. And the verse, is it to whom much is given, much is expected? No. The verse of, like, the parable of the different talents comes to mind, right? The person that was giving 5 sowed it, the person that was giving 2 sowed, the person that was giving 1, they were like, look at this one that you gave me, I'll draw you. And the master came back and they were like, this one that he gave, I'm going to take it away from you. And so that's what I just wanted to encourage us with this morning, that we should always prepare, even if it seems like the external circumstances are not favoring you in the moment, because you never know when an opportunity can arise. You never know when those external factors that seem to disqualify you will suddenly be removed or suddenly be moved in your favor, and you don't want to find yourself unprepared. So yes, that is the end of what I'm discussing today. Yes.